to welcome you back to another Mythological Creatures of Canada, another part series in my 8-part series. And today I'm going to read you a few things and give you some information in behind the next mythological creature. Traditional tales about Loup Garou are found in French, Canadian, and European folklore. The Loup Garou, hopefully I pronounced that properly, my French is a little off, but the Loup Garou is also called lycanthrope or werewolf, is generally believed to be a person who can change into animal form, often as a wolf. The French Canadian folklore, Loup Garou is often a dog. Excuse me. It may also take the form of a calf, a small ox, a pig, cat, or even an owl, for that matter. The Loup Garou is believed to be a cursed man. So in the French Canadian tradition, is often guilty of not being a good Christian. Okay, for example, people who did not confess during Easter could be cursed to become werewolves or a Loup Garou. The spell could last for about 110 days. It would take hold of the victim every evening. They were then forced to wander the countryside in animal form. The spell might be broken if someone recognized the individual while transformed and could draw blood from the animal. Neither person could speak of this incident for fear of worse reprisals. Also in the French Canadian folklore, the tale of the Loup Garou, or Garou, is tied to Catholic morality. A religious failing was often linked to the Loup Garou curse. Only a shedding of blood could free a cursed man. The French Canadian stories were generally less violent. This is unlike versions found in the United States and in Europe. Modern popular depictions of werewolves from movies such as The Wolf Man are very different from traditional French Canadian tales. For those of you who may have read or may not have read and learned from Saint Roch near Gramaraska or Cap Maraska, depending which way you want to pronounce it, that there are werewolves who turn or run along the coast in the form of a beggar who, with the talent to persuade what he does not know, and by promising what he cannot keep, has that of obtaining what he asks for. It is said that this animal, with the help of his 2 hind legs, arrived in Quebec on the last 17th, and that it left on the following morning on the 19th. Now, this is going back into 1766, this article, okay? With the intention of following its mission as far as Montreal. Okay? The beast is said to be as dangerous as it is species as that which appeared last year, and if I butcher this, I'm sorry, Govalden. That is why the public was urged to be wary of it as a ravening wolf, and that was July 14th, 1766. Okay. Now, in Kammershka, December 2nd, we learned that a certain werewolf who has been traveling in this province for several years and who has done a lot of damage in the district of Quebec received several considerable attacks last October by various animals which had been armed and unleashed against this monster, and notably on the 3rd of November following that it received such a ferocious blow from a small, thin animal which was believed to be entirely delivered from the fatal animal, given that it remained for or from some time withdrawn in its den to a great satisfaction of the public. But we have just learned by the most disastrous and misfortunes that this animal is not entirely defeated, that on the contrary, it begins to reappear more ferocious than ever and cause terrible carnage whenever it strikes. So aware of all the tricks of this mischievous beast, and take care not to fall between its paws. And that was dated back in December 10th, 1767, from the Quebec Gazette. Okay? Now I'm going to read some other things, basically on Loup Garou. What it is, some other little aspects and everything else to, give you a little bit more information on it. And then you can decide from there. Loup Garou were more powerful cousins of the standard werewolves who were affected by an extremely virulent type of lycanthropic curse. Okay, lycanthropic, yeah, Lycanthropic. Okay, excuse me if I butcher the words. It's been a little while since I've had to read this. So, basic description of them, like other lycanthropes, Loup Garou was a shape changer who could shift between humanoid, a man-wolf hybrid shape, and a fully lupin form, that of a large wolf. Their hybrid form, on average, appeared especially muscular, covered in thick wolf fur, and stood approximately 7 feet tall, basically 2.1 meters. They had a short tail, wolf-like legs, and head. While in man-wolf shape, they walked upright like most humanoids and had agile hands with opposable thumbs. Unlike their full wolf shape, they could speak in the hybrid form. However, their voices sounded very deep and hoarse. The hybrid and wolf shapes allowed them movement speeds far superior of that of a humanoid. The wolf form looked similar to a large org, while mountain Loup Garou appeared even bigger than their lowland cousins. The mountain Loup Garou had red eyes that glowed with malice when in hybrid or wolf form. Now, their abilities, basically, we break it down as to this, were naturally resistant to magic and retain their keen minds in all 3 forms. So they're very smart. These bestial creatures could only bring harm on weapons made from silver or magical weapons, though the latter were less effective, really. Weapons that had been blessed by divine magics were virtually useless against Loup Garou and barely left a scratch on their hides. The mountain ones, magical resistance was significantly more effective than their lowland kin. They could regenerate and were only vulnerable to magic or gold weapons. Even though the magical weapons didn't really have a lot of effect to them, but still, they were known to be immune to charm and fear. Now, their basic general behavior were not just more dangerous and bigger than ordinary werebeasts, but they also aggressively aimed to spread their affection onto their victims. Okay, the only way to be curing a Loup Garou of this curse was by slaying the very beast that infected them. But even after the death of the monster who infected the affected, the plague was persistent. To successfully remove the affliction, a powerful priest had to pray to their deity to remove curse from it during the first full moon, right after the beast was slain. So that very first full moon night, that's when they had to do it. If the attempt failed, the lycanthrope remained cursed until the next full moon, when another attempt could be made. So it stayed that curse. Now, generalize in combat, then break it down to this, and this is what's been said. Loup Garou tactics vary depending on their numbers, skills, and shape. On average, it took them 6 seconds to fully transform from one form to another. 6 seconds. While they were in humanoid form, they could employ the widest array of skills and abilities, from wielding weapons to casting arcane or divine magics. The most common vocation among them, however, was warrior or rogues. Okay? When they shifted into the hybrid form, they ferociously raked their opponents with their clawed hands and tried to sink their teeth into their target. Occasionally, the Loup Garou in the man-wolf shape were known to wield weapons, but they preferred unarmed animalistic savagery as their more expeditious way of ripping their opponents apart. In the wolf form, used their speed and vicious bites to kill their prey. This agile form allowed them to lay an ambush and gave them keen senses of a wild beast. They had a basic little bit of a society, wasn't by much, but basically the lowlands Loup Garou, the smaller of the two species, could be found wandering in the plains and hills of domains of Dread and outskirts of Barovia. This is basically their general thing that they talk about. They hunted in packs and preferred human meat to all else, but that didn't mean that they wouldn't eat other animals. They laired in caves or secluded ruins. However, it was not unheard of for them to travel in humanoid forms and frequent inns. Loup Garou considered other lycanthropes, and especially werewolves, to be their enemies. The mountain ones were the larger of the two, and in the wolf form appeared more like dire wolves than anything, than regular beasts type idea. They inhabited mountains and other more secluded locations, were more often encountered as lone hunters than their kin. So the lowlands seem to be more in groups as the type of species that they were, whereas the mountain versions and the larger of Loup Garous, they were more seen as individuals. So would you really like to go out into the woods and discover them in the province of Quebec, Canada? Or would you just like to hear the information from me instead and just keep your distance, because you never know what might be lurking in the woods near you?